Welcome, everyone. Hope to hear from you, and let's get started. Sam, over to you.
Great. Hi, I'm Sam Negraval. I'm the communications manager at Trellus, and I'm here with my colleagues Gianna, Costantino, and Steve, who are really our presenters. I'm just here to facilitate the discussion. I'll be doing the presentation in the background. I'll also be commenting on some of the research that we compiled for this presentation. So I will now let Gianna and Steve introduce themselves.
Hey everyone, thank you for being here and thank you for allowing us to be here. My name is Steve. I'm the Client Success Director here at Trellus. Trellus is a same-day local delivery and marketplace right here on Long Island. So we help small businesses with their logistic needs. And I think, our presentation is very timely just with the holiday season, and we're going to go over some consumer behaviors and shopping trends and things like that. So again, thank you for allowing us to be here. I'll pass it over to Gianna for a quick introduction.
Morning, everyone. Thanks for spending your morning with us. My name's Gianna. I'm a client success manager at Trellus. And we're super excited to talk to you, kind of echoing what Steve said before the holiday seasons, just what your options are as far as shipping, same-day delivery, just delivery options, so you can really meet your customer where they are. Sam put together some really great stuff that I'm excited to talk to you guys about this morning.
All right, great. So we'll get started. But first, we would like to know, who's joining us today and what your logistical challenges are, your needs in your business. So if you care to, just unmute yourself, come on camera, whatever you prefer, and just say hi, tell us a little bit about your business.
Yes, I'll go first. My name is Colleen. I'm the marketing director over at Trellus. I'm here just to provide some extra support and just to listen in today. Pleasure to meet you all.
Thanks, Colleen.
Well, I guess I could provide some context too. So some of the businesses that we work with, right, or some of the industries we work with, florists and chocolate shops and boutiques, really, any business again who's looking to, have a logistical option available. So not sure if anybody here fits in those, different categories, but, those are some of our, popular categories that we work with. So just to provide some context there.
Okay, great. So Steve, if you would like to maybe talk a little bit about the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the problem, right? We know that small businesses are struggling to compete, with, unfortunately, we're in an age of everybody goes to Amazon or Walmart or some of the big box retailers, because they want things yesterday, right? So we definitely saw that there was a gap in the market as far as people shopping local and being able to support their downtowns. So that's really why Trellis was created, to, help punch back a little bit, to provide, a logistical option that is affordable for small businesses and consumers alike, to provide this convenience that we know people need and want. So yeah, that is really kind of what kickstarted Trellis and what we're trying to help, throughout this process. So, that's a problem we saw. That's what we're trying to solve every single day. We're trying to, help small businesses with, their logistical concerns and needs, and, provide it at an affordable cost. So yeah, that's really, the idea behind Trellis and, our mission and what we're trying to do.
Great. So this is our first data point that I'll just briefly explain where this came from. It's from the American Independent Business Alliance, and it's also known as the economic multiplier. So it's this idea, on average, 48% of each purchase at local independent businesses is recirculated locally, compared to less than 14% of purchases at chain stores. So in that way, I think we all have a stake in helping small businesses in our community compete. Gianna, do you have commentary?
No, I just think that I didn't really know this stat before starting at Trellis, and now being here in 2.5 years, it's something that I think about, every single day. It's crazy to think how far a dollar can go, and just like if you knew about that as a consumer. And I know also like convenience is about location, and most of us have businesses that are significantly closer to us, or at least like for my area. I have small businesses much closer to me than my nearest big box store. Um, so yeah, when you just like shift your mindset a little, and I know, Sam, I'm going to steal your words here, but everyone likes to say like shop local, support local. But it is, like consciously making that effort, and to see how much further your dollar can go, especially when, everyone's pretty concerned about their expenses at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, precisely. And this data point factored into our grant application. At towards the end of this presentation, we'll talk about an opportunity that's available to all Suffolk County businesses to help offset the cost of same-day delivery. But this was one of the stats that we did include, just to show you, like, for every dollar you're spending, it's like 3 times more powerful in the local community than when you spend that money at a chain store. So another study that I also included in that grant application was the Roush HRA Foundation report. And this is really about, COVID accelerating what was already happening. And, I think that it's interesting. So I did want to point this out. They're showing 2009 versus 2020 and 2021. So if you think back to what's happening in 2009, like that's the recession. And I know that because I was graduating from college into a recession. It was a great time. Steve, I think you remember that time.
Certainly do.
Yes. So, the vacancies were already reaching like that threshold. It's like an industry standard for a healthy vacancy rate, but, like there's more vacancies essentially, because of COVID. It just accelerated like the problem. So, if you guys care to comment on your own experiences, because a big thing with Steve and Gianna is that they're out in the local community, like interfacing with our merchants. So they have that experience of seeing when businesses close up. Some of them go to a remote operation. They can't afford the rent, so they do like a home-based operation, and we serve those businesses as well. But and you guys are native Long Islanders too, so.
Yeah, and I think one of the most telling things, and the things that we hear a lot, is businesses not willing to adapt, right? And I think to Sam's point, with COVID, I think that did accelerate things, people's shopping habits, and where they're shopping and how they're shopping, and when they want to have things, has changed, right? So we need to make sure that we're always solving that problem and making sure that we're giving a customer or consumer what they need. So I think it's very very timely, and it's very important. So yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I think anyone who drives through like a main street or can see that there's been more and more vacancies. And I think also as well, just stores coming in and only really being able to sustain a business for a year or 2 years, just not have like the longevity that we've historically seen, or, I've seen in my local community. And Willa might be able to, add some context even here too. I'm sure since COVID in 2020, you saw a lot of businesses pop up that just were maybe unable to find the education to really sustain. But store vacancies is a huge reason why Trellis even exists. Our CEO and co-founder was really just sick of seeing his main streets getting smaller and smaller and having more empty stores, and there being more and more Amazon trucks, in his neighborhood. So the reason why we get to sit here and have this conversation with you today. An unfortunate one.
Right, and no one wants to live on a main street with no stores, right? So
Yeah.
it's really critical that we keep them alive and open.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Adam has talked about that a lot. Like, Long Island's downtowns, it's what makes Long Island attractive place to live. It's why the real estate is what it is. All of that factors in to communities, and yeah, so it's important.
Yeah, definitely no place like it. As someone who left and came back, you definitely look for those downtown areas.
Mhm.
Right. And Gianna, would you like to take this stat?
Yeah, of course. So as some of you may or may not know, basically every major big box retailer and online giant is gearing up to make sure that they are providing same day delivery and getting things faster. So really training the consumer to want things quicker, sooner. Um, so yeah, they're trying to take over the business. Um, and we're here to try to combat that with you.
Yeah. And notably this study was 2022 and it said like, we're going to be doing this within the next 3 years. Well, it's almost 2025, so we're here and it's happening in the background. And the thing about that study that they found is that, they're struggling with, like, enterprise retailers are struggling with maybe some of the same issues that maybe a small business would face. And they're struggling with last mile delivery operations. So, Steve, I don't know, since you're like on the tech end a little bit, if you'd like to
Sure.
talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Even to Sam's point, a company as big as Amazon, right? They struggle with last mile logistics and the operations and the costs associated with it. We talk to merchants kind of all day long as far as I have my own vehicle, I do it in house, right? But are you really considering the costs when you do that, right? Managing a vehicle, insurance, workers' comp, the liability to have somebody staffed, and just keeping that person busy, right? So for us to have an affordable solution that is on demand and is really there for you at when you need it has been super valuable for businesses that are looking to grow and scale and expand. So yeah, that's definitely something that we've seen out just talking to businesses.
Mhm. Yeah, and even the visibility into the delivery too, like being able to see 31% they're struggling with real-time order visibility and tracking. That's something that's even affecting like enterprise retailers. So it's definitely you know, not the easiest technology to try to implement on your own. And that's why services like Trellis exist. Leslie, you have a hand raise?
Yes, I certainly do. What is a tech stack?
That's a good question. Steve, you want to take that?
Yeah, for sure. So tech stack is pretty much all the technology that a company has built into their operations and systems, right? So a tech stack would be like their POS system, their if they have a
Dude,
delivery
what is
system.
POS? Just so we
Oh,
break it
sorry,
down
yeah.
even more. Yeah.
Point of sale, right? So point of sale system for how they manage inventory, how they process orders, things like that. If they have a delivery company like Trellus, that would integrate into it, which we can integrate into different websites and things we're going to get into later through checkout. So yeah, just all kind of their technology that allows them to run their businesses efficiently, and how they all kind of work in their own ecosystem.
Great. Yeah, and
To that, I will just add that from a lot of conversations, we do find that it's hard to find different technologies that talk to each other really nicely as well. Leslie, so a lot of times there's like a different POS system, a different website that small businesses are finding are the best for them to manage. And I would imagine the same goes for a big box as well. It's really difficult to find a one size fits all, very easy tech stack.
yes, everybody wants custom integrations. It's plug and play can be difficult, especially for retailers of this size, but we find that to be true with some small businesses in our network. And we do have a dedicated team that works with them to try to make those integrations work.
Yeah. And just to add a little bit more context, we are very mindful of not trying to disrupt people's workflow. We always say we try to make things just fit into that and make it easier and not an extra step and harder. So we always, to Sam's point, we always try to do that and be as flexible as possible to work into your current workflow. So I just wanted to call that out.
Great. Cool. So, of course, the name of this presentation is Convenience Sells, and we do have information about customers looking for that convenience in their shopping habits. So Gianna, would you like to go over some of these?
Yeah, of course. So 71% of respondents order from Amazon or other non-local online retailers that offer convenience, and often lower prices than locally owned retailers. 31% do so that they feel guilty about doing so. I think a lot of us can share in that. And then 67% of the respondents say that convenience is an important factor when determining where to spend their money. And 42% of consumers say convenience keeps them from shopping locally more often. You know, very timely, actually, we were having a conversation amongst our staff internally about even just like parking. Parking in a downtown can sometimes be a deterrent for a lot of people to want to shop locally. You know, I tend to not really find myself in the downtown area unless it's like a more leisure day. I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but yeah,
Yes.
so convenience is really driving consumers' purchasing habits.
As someone who's gotten their car towed in Great Neck.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And forgive me, I'm from New Jersey originally, but they're not as strict about that, at least not where I'm from. So yeah, that is a thing with the Long Island downtowns.
Yeah, but I guess on brighter news, 2/3 of Americans do say they want to shop local more. So just having a little bit of convenience built into your business could really increase your sales this holiday season and beyond. So hopefully, you know, that's a takeaway that we can all work towards at the end of this.
Definitely. And I think that this is a question that Gianna and Steve get a lot, and they can comment on. Like, people want to know, like, what's in it? What's in it for me? I'm running a business. Is it worth it to offer same-day delivery?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I think, there are some businesses, again, I think going back to, just hesitant to change or, offer something new. They like their customers to come into their store, or, they already know their kind of their habits, right? But we've seen it time and time again where if you give people the option for something as convenient as same day delivery, yes, we still want people to come into your store, but if they need something and they just can't get to the store, I think it's a really valuable option for people. So yeah, I mean, it's something that I think again we talk to merchants a lot about this, and giving people the option to still shop at some of their favorite stores with the convenience of being able to get it delivered same day, has been a really big thing for their business, and it takes a lot of pressure off of them internally having to, if somebody does want that, if they don't have somebody like Trellus or a delivery service, either closing up shop for them to go deliver it for a loyal customer, or finding somebody who can help them. So yeah, it's definitely valuable for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think we find too that most people are willing to pay, like most consumers are willing to pay for convenience. I'd be interested if anyone wants to have this conversation in the chat. Like, do you feel comfortable raising your prices? I know that that's a huge, a big part of the conversation Steve and I have with a lot of merchants and prospective merchants that we work with is I just like, I think as a small business owner, you might even feel some guilt about raising your prices, or you think people won't want to shop with you if there's a discrepancy. But I think also most of us are willing to spend a little bit more for like a free delivery, right? Like add an extra thing to your cart for like no shipping cost. It kind of becomes the same thing. And we had a great conversation with Willa yesterday even about like baking these costs into your product can really, most consumers aren't nickeling and diming things too much. If I know I'm going to get it and I don't have to put my kids in the car and try to run out or try to get them both out of the car and run into the store, I certainly am going to pay a little extra to have things brought to me at this stage of life.
Definitely. And I think this chart goes more in depth into like some of those metrics that people are looking at, to see if they can get the ROI. Cart abandonment, cart value, conversion rate, like these are what like enterprise level executives are like measuring. I think small businesses, you guys know, are like they're in the grind of the day to day. Like they might not be measuring this to this degree. I mean, there are softwares out there that will help you measure these KPIs, key performance indicators. But this is sort of like the measurement of like if it's working.
And we had Melissa in the chat saying that she is more likely to be leaving her numbers flat for now, but she is willing to offer free delivery if customers spend a certain threshold amount. Shout out to Melissa, beautiful florist and boutique owner out of Merrick. Right? I think I got that. Correct, if you're the Melissa
Yes.
Brosco that I'm thinking of.
All of it, all of it boutique.
Yeah. So yeah, just thanks for the feedback there, and definitely really interesting that you're willing to you have a number set for free delivery, and I think most consumers are willing to meet that.
Yeah, it's great. I think like another stat here that jumps out at me is that 6 to 10% increase in repeat purchases for offering a same-day delivery program. Like that's what, as a small business, like you want to be top of mind when everybody is sitting at their computer and they can just easily search on Amazon, Walmart.com, Target. Like it's great to just know that you're top of mind. You offer the convenience they expect, so they're just going to go to your local business. And I think that's the game here. So yeah, just diving in a little bit more about offsetting costs for same-day delivery and what Gianna was saying about increasing prices. I think that's something too that we're excited about with our launch of Marketplace, that we can maybe get creative with some free trials of delivery or loyalty programs. Like that's all stuff that we're planning to introduce, and again, driving that repeat business, making it attractive to people to shop your local store.
Certainly, and just to kind of keep the conversation going a little as well, the Bacon Coach did write into the chat that they offer free delivery for $50 or more. So I think just like if you offer the convenience, you have a small incentive, you're going to see consumers coming back time and time again, maybe for free delivery or maybe for delivery each time, or just shopping with you more often.
Yeah, I think in both. And then,
go ahead, Steve.
No, I was just gonna add. I think just these last two, slides. I think it is this. The stats are telling like people want options, right? So I think providing those options is critical. So sorry.
No, it's totally fine. Leslie kind of echoed what we were saying as well. As a consumer, she's willing to pay extra for an item from a small local company having it delivered to her, because to shop in Patchogue, she would have to pay to park. Shout out to Patchogue. Hi, Leslie. I live in your community as well. But yeah, exactly. Like parking is not always the easiest between main streets like Patchogue and maybe Sable. You've experienced as well. It just you don't have to pay to park, but there's not as much convenient parking there as well. So I would agree, having to pay to park to, go to your favorite retailer sometimes can be a deterrent, and rather just pay to not leave the house sometimes.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I was also going to add too this point that the merchants that are using Trellus, like they tend to have a more premium product. We're talking about custom baked goods, flower arrangements. So I think like it is easier to sort of, bake in that fee for same day delivery when you're dealing with a premium product. It gets harder maybe on like one-off low cost items. Willa, question?
No, I just wanted to add about the pricing, because we deal with a lot of clients and pricing is a big thing. And I think, it's all about perceived value. And you just brought up that, Sam, that, if you have a good product, and it's a feel good too, to know that you're supporting people in your own community. So you have to play that up as well. in your store and make people feel good. And when they come in, get to know them by name. So they kind of get that feeling that they're part of your family and it's important to you. And I know myself, a lot of times it's not about the pricing. It's really about how I feel about it. You know, it reminds me of like when my kids were choosing where to go to school. It's like, who did the tour? You know, they like that person. And that's
Right.
what decided it. So it's really, don't minimize the impact of what makes a small business different is that, you know, maybe you do gift wrapping, maybe you know, do things for local people that you can talk about. Hey, I did the christening for this one, if you're a baker, or did this one, and put pictures up on your wall and bring the neighborhood into your business. So they really feel that loyalty and that obligation almost to want to see you succeed and stay in business. And don't be afraid to tell people your business means a lot to me. You know, as a small business owner, you know, I really want to connect with my community. That's where you are different and unique from the big players who are anonymous to you. Yeah, sure. They, you know, if you want something quick and it's, you know, nothing, you could get it anywhere. Maybe Amazon's the place, but most small businesses have something very unique and valuable that people are looking for. So don't undersell yourself. Cheap always comes at a cost. Remember that.
Yes.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about it a little bit more later in the presentation. But I think to your point of like the gift wrap, just like the care that goes into your purchase, even if you are just purchasing one item at your local small business, like a candle, it's always like wrapped so beautifully and just
Yes,
gives
yes.
you this extra like feel good. And
Yeah.
it's also wonderful for this time of year, right? With like gifting and just the extra mile that a small business goes, I don't think goes unnoticed.
Right, right. Absolutely.
Great. Steve, were you going to say something or?
Yeah, I was
before-
just gonna add on quickly. One thing I think that we take very seriously at Trellis is the customer experience, right? We know that, you know, the business has this relationship with their customer, and we're kind of that last line of defense of actually delivering that product, right? So making sure that that customer experience is top notch, and you know, not us, you know, going in and just making sure that we get, you know, fully to that process. So I just wanted to add that for sure.
Great. Awesome. And I think the next slide, you know, we've already been talking about this along the way, you know, in some of the chat comments and in certain instances, like the baking coach, saying that she's offering free delivery of $50 or more. If there's any other examples, please feel free to share. But you know, it is important, I think, just to have the option. It's not, same day delivery isn't like the end all be all. I read this in one of the studies. I believe it was the Rhodey study of somebody quoted, you know, it's not like the end all be all, but it's a tool in your arsenal. You know, like it's good because we get that people want to come in and shop in the physical store if you have one. We understand that, you know, it's just balancing and it's all about finding customers where they are. And it's a lot of people scrolling that phone, you know. And I think Bob just shared that he's amazed how much consumers pay for local food delivery with Uber Eats versus just driving 5 to 10 minutes. Yes, are most of your users more willing to pay for premium type items versus commodity type purchases? I think that is what we found in Trellis, you know, that they're paying the premium, a higher premium versus for a high quality good that's unique, as we just talked about, versus commodity.
And I also think
I
there's
would
two.
agree.
I think there's two parts to that too, right? I think there definitely is the part of, yes, you know, consumers are willing to pay more for a high commodity item, but also we found certain businesses and verticals are also willing to pay for a service like a pharmacy where they know they have a reliable service that's going to get to whatever their customers or patients need. So I do think it's a parter to that. So.
Okay, yeah, because there are those necessities as well. Yeah, I know. I've been, you know, there was actually a study about grocery taking off, like instant grocery delivery I know that I've tapped into that when I was sick one time. I couldn't leave. I was like bedridden that one day. And you know, that's a necessity. And you know, food commodities. I was ordering ginger ale and pretzels, you know, and I wanted it immediately. Um, Willa, yes.
Yes, I just wanted to also say that this can expand your target market, because think of older people who, you talk about parking downtown. I mean, it's like, it's a nightmare sometimes for older people who are maybe can't get around as easily, and knowing that they can buy gifts or get what they need and have it delivered the same day, pharmacies, things like that. There's a lot of businesses that could expand, and you can reach out to assisted living centers and senior living. There's so many condo areas that are all seniors. And they may have a list of services that are available to their residents, and your business could be a part of that list if you offer this kind of service. So I think it expands that as well.
That's a great point. That's a great point. We're actually gonna there is a data point on the older generation baby boomers shopping online, which I find very interesting that we'll get to.
Okay.
So yeah, just briefly, I'll introduce this study. This is the National Retail Federation holiday forecast. They come out with this each year, and they're really showing that you know, year over year, the holiday sales increase, like it's tapered off like just a little bit. It's not like the dramatic increase compared to other years, but what's really driving it is these online and other non-store sales. Those are expected to increase between 8 and 9%. So e-commerce, you know, they talk about inflation, maybe consumer spending tapering off a little bit here and there, but e-commerce is still a driving force of the economy, really, and people just, you know, shopping. And it's seemingly regardless of what's going on in the economy, it's just e-commerce is a steady right now. This is from this is a PwC Holiday Outlook study, another annual study showing, you know, again, consumers planning to cut back a little bit on spending more this season. And, you know, so we've looked at this as a team and we're like, how does this impact what consumers might be willing to spend on delivery and shipping? And I think that's where, if you can offer a deal, you can, you know, offer that incentive in your pricing. It's a good idea. You guys want to, if you guys have any thoughts on that as you talk to customers about this?
I was just gonna add that I feel like a lot of the conversation too that we see, you know, that I see online, or just like that I think about as a consumer, um, and you know, please, anyone feel free to add, is a lot, even though people might be planning to spend a little bit less, I think they are looking for more thoughtfulness in their holiday season. I think like year over year, for me at least, that's something I struggle with as a consumer, is like, what do you gift people when most people have access to everything all the time? So I'm always looking for gifts that are more thoughtful, more handmade, and I think a lot of people would attest to that. So while maybe people are spending less, I think they, um, you know, it spending less, but maybe spending less on those sort of, I don't want to call them throwaway gifts, but kind of, and
Mhm.
maybe spend a little more on a more thoughtful gift, and kind of echoing, you know, even what Bob was saying about like a premium gift might be, you know, more at the top of mind in this
Yeah.
season. I mean, in conversations, you know, I think this is where the hesitant to raise your price might come from, is knowing that people are, you know, spending a little bit less or considering spending less this holiday season. Um, but yeah, to your point, Sam, I think if you can kind of work in a deal for free delivery, you'll still be able to close the sale for sure. I think most of our merchants are seeing that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, Steve, if you're having same
Nope.
different conversation.
Yeah, no, that's essentially the conversations I'm having as well. So very well said.
Yeah. And I think, you know, what potentially like same day delivery, or just like having a more more of a relationship with a service that you're using, or this is a lot of the reason why people want to manage their own fleet, or like prefer to go do things themselves, because they want to have a relationship with their customer. What Steve was saying before, we're here to help you, even just like have these conversations, whether you decide to tell us or not. But we're here to kind of have the conversation every step of the way of like, does it make sense to up my price a little bit on my product and maybe offer free delivery? So just know that you have resources.
Great. Well said. This report dated back to like, I think 2017 or 2018. And it's held steady, in all consumer reporting that I've seen. It's, consumers want the free shipping, like it's become more of an expectation from them, and also the expectation that they're not willing to wait very long. So again, it just reinforces what we're saying about some of that creative pricing in your offering, and maybe including it.
Yeah, and I think people have been conditioned, right, from like an Uber or a DoorDash experience. If there's a free delivery, that it's typically baked into whatever costs of the item, whether you're raising the overall cost of items or just accounting for whatever that may be. So yeah, I do think people are very conditioned to have, when they see free delivery, they think it's free, but maybe ultimately it's how your pricing is structured and how it's worked into that.
No such thing as a free lunch. Somebody's paying for something along the way, but it's just about how you position it. And then this is where we get some interesting data by the different age groups. A common objection I think Gianna and Steve have both gotten: my customers want to shop in person. But I'm telling you, from all the data that I've read, the data says that they want options.
Yeah, and this is far and away probably the biggest, I guess I would say, pushback for when we go in and talk to people in stores is, my customers don't, they won't want delivery, and they want to be in store. But again, you don't know unless you offer or have an option for it, right? You have somebody who just maybe can't get out to the store that day, so having the convenience to still get a steak from the place down the block, or flowers that need to get to somebody. The stats are there. People will pay for convenience. So
Great.
Willa, did you have something to add?
Yes, I just wanted to say this reminds me of when people only accept cash back in the day, and many still do.
Yeah.
And they say, no, I don't want to pay the taxes or whatever. But I convinced this one baker, actually, he only had cash. Could only pay cash. And I go, you know how much more I would buy if you took my card? I mean, because I'm like an impulse buyer, and everything here looks delicious, but I only have $20 with me. So I can only buy what I came in for, but I would buy a lot more. Well, that baker has since accepted cards, and I think it makes a big difference in, again, what you're saying, Sam, is more options, and people that don't realize that, they think they're saving money on taxes, but they're actually losing revenue, because people are very impulsive and they like to buy what they see, and hardly anyone carries cash. So it's really a kind of like, it makes you the other way, you're not convenient. So it's that same objection. But I think we've been trained now. I mean, if you asked me 10 years ago if I had to have same day service, I'd be like, no, I can get over there and pick it up. It's not a big deal. But now things, we're just busy people. So we may be losing sales to somebody who does offer that. So
Yeah.
it's a good option to at least have on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly. And you kind of mentioned it earlier, a conversation I like to have, if someone's willing to have it with me, is, you said that people don't want to live places where there's not a downtown, especially on Long Island, right? And I think it's also important to be mindful of who's moving into your area. So if you know that with this stat, right, like most of the older generation is actually looking for home delivery now. If they can't get to the main street because the parking's annoying, or, maybe they're not driving as much, they have to rely on their kids who are too busy to take them into the store, is a lot of what we see. But also, are you considering who the new the new spender is in your area. And we're going to see that it is more of like the Gen Z and the millennial type. And while they are still willing to go in store for pickup, are you catering for what they're looking for? Do you have an Instagram page, right? Like a lot of that has become the new Google for many of us. If we want to see if an event is going on in our neighborhood, we're looking at Facebook, we're looking at Instagram, we're not really looking even for like a Google search as much. So even just having that you offer delivery in your Instagram profile and maybe on your Google listing could really help convert people in your neighborhood.
It
That's an
definitely
excellent
empowers people.
Yeah, for sure. It's great points. I think now what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit more about, some of those traditional options that have existed for same day delivery before a service like, Trellis came about to provide businesses with more flexibility. Steve, would you like to talk more about like traditional carriers, and also the acquisition of Roadie was interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we have your traditional carriers like your FedEx, your UPS, USPS, and they're great, right? They're there to, provide a service. But I think, I like to think of Trellis as more of a little bit of a white glove service, whether it be the tracking we provide, the real time tracking, the photo confirmations, knowing that your delivery is not going to go into the back of a truck and kind of get thrown around a little bit. It's going from your store to the driver's vehicle, right to the customer, and we provide this service at a very affordable cost that's similar to a FedEx or a UPS or USPS. Next day, we provide it at a same day rate. So again, we've seen a lot of different businesses that have used those traditional carriers and have come over to Trellis and really have elevated that customer experience, whether it be through our customer service, like we have live chats that are available. We have when you call Trellis, somebody will pick up the phone immediately. So just that kind of just having the ability to talk to somebody of questions that people have, people find is very convenient. And to Sam's point, so there is a company called Roadie. Not sure if anybody's too familiar with them. They were kind of a local, or they kind of position themselves as a local delivery service, similar to Trellis. They were acquired by UPS, and I have had a few conversations with businesses that have used Roadie, but have really found that they don't really have the local knowledge of not being from Long Island or in the New York area. So they've definitely struggled with that as well. So I think those are definitely some of the differences between a traditional carrier and what Trellis is. So
Definitely. And then, I took the screenshot of courier services. I just Googled. And I think Colleen is still on the call and listening, but credit to our digital manager and also Colleen leading our search word strategy, because when you do Google a courier service on Long Island, Trellis does pop up. But this screenshot is more of like your traditional providers, and they're few and far between. They might be specializing in an industry niche such as medical courier services, legal. They might have had like that customer base in their niche. But I think, what's worth noting too, Steve, we did that clinical delivery up to Mount Kisco. We drive into Westchester, and we're actually doing, well, you have more details about it than I do.
yeah, for sure. So Westchester is part of our delivery zone as well. So we can, go up there and we service Westchester County as a whole. So something else to definitely consider if you have a little bit of a further away delivery of, a customer who maybe is up there. That could also be an option through Trellis as well.
Great.
Sam, if you want to stay on this slide, we
sure.
have some conversation happening in the chat.
Great.
So hi, Jennifer. She has a niche business with chickens and selling chicken feed. Is that correct, Jennifer, and she has a question about, or is saying how she found a lot of customers are not willing to pay $30 as a shipping charge on a $25 bag of feed. And she wanted to know how we accommodate heavy shipments, like a 50 pound of feed and 20 miles. And then Bob also mentioned Walsh Messenger, which we've definitely discussed internally as well, how he used to use Walsh Messenger for many years. So I don't know if Steve, you want to talk about accommodating heavy shipments?
Yeah, for sure. So, like a normal delivery for Trellus is up to 50 pounds, actually. There's a slight upcharge for anything over 35 pounds. So we can accommodate up to 50 pounds. If it is any heavier than that, we can try to talk about it. We typically try to, stay within that 50-pound limit just for our drivers and, for that sake. And then just as far as like mileage, our service area is all of Long Island, so we can absolutely do that. It's just a matter of pricing and how we get there. So I don't want to dive into pricing too much. I think we have that maybe in a later slide, but
I do have the pricing
yeah,
breakdown, and it's
yeah,
also
so we can
available on our
talk.
website.
Yeah.
And I think to just kind of what Bob brought up is we don't account for like we're very predictable on what the rate is going to be. We don't take into account how fast the delivery needs to happen, but we will discuss pricing a little bit more at the end and hopefully, round out that conversation.
And just to add on that, I know we have here peak seasonal pricing. We don't have, our rates don't increase or anything like that if it's a certain time of the year, certain time of the day. We're 7 days a week. So yeah, that none of that stuff is really factors into what we do in our pricing.
Which for a
Yeah, and
small business makes it very easy to like budget for that because there's not
Yeah.
like that unpredictability. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and I think somebody had actually asked, like, what about DoorDash? So, Gianna, what about DoorDash?
Yeah, so I was going to add, I do think that you find with last mile logistic companies like ourselves, DoorDash, Uber Eats, have really, found the niche here. They don't typically rely on this peak pricing that we were kind of talking about, or they're more predictable in pricing, so there could be an advantage there in using a local logistics or like an on-demand service. So yes, Jennifer, or the baking coach, I'm sorry, had pointed out, what about DoorDash? And I don't think we can have this conversation without talking about DoorDash and Uber Eats. And as Bob was mentioning earlier, what they've sort of done for local restaurants and the way that they look at delivery now. So to get into DoorDash and Uber a little bit, it is worth noting that these are billion-dollar companies that have really honed in on the on-demand business model. They weren't initially designed for small business parcel delivery, but I'm sure we've all seen, I'm sure you've gotten maybe even marketing material or DoorDash reps in your small businesses to really lean in more to kind of support you on that local last mile logistic. I will note though that these new models for offering small parcel delivery or flower delivery, these are kind of experimental in nature. And this is where we see DoorDash has been experimenting in building it on an e-commerce platform. And we also saw Uber Eats' experiment with Drizzly, right? So they spent $1 billion on Drizzly's delivery app and ended up closing that business down within 3 years. They are still delivering alcohol. A lot of the conversations I've been having with, because we deliver alcohol as well with a lot of merchants, is that the price increase, like they have really, really increased their prices from shutting down Drizzly. So I think Drizzly was like $5 for a delivery, and now Uber is charging like 30% of the sale roughly. Those numbers might not be super up to date, but yeah, so just note that these larger companies might offer a service and then a year later that service might no longer be available.
Yes. Yeah, and I think well, it's even happened with Amazon. I think that I have that in a later slide, their same day delivery program from certain stores. They're shuttering that because it's competing against their rapid delivery model. So we'll get into that, but same thing. And then Steve, if you'd like to talk about, Trellis merchants using DoorDash, not using DoorDash, and the same for Uber Eats.
Yeah, so we had we kind of just took like an inventory of all of our merchants and just saw who was or who wasn't using a DoorDash and an Uber, and surprisingly, a lot of them are not available on a DoorDash. And I think it goes back to Gianna and Sam's point of um, the fees that are associated with a lot of those different companies, and having to mark up products pretty significantly to which again hinders the customer experience of repeat customers who are used to like your products and your pricing being at a certain level, and then having to bake into those costs to what DoorDash would take out, sometimes up to I think it's up to 40% of an order. So yeah, we've seen that not too many of our merchants are actually on some of these third party platforms. So
This is what Uber looks like.
yeah,
Yeah.
which I think is very telling. So sorry, Sam, I don't know if you had something else.
No, exactly that. And I think like from doing case studies with our merchants, which are on our website, like it always comes up the support that we provide and their ability, like picking up the phone and getting a real person. You're not going to get that with Uber Eats or DoorDash. It's just they're not built for that level of customer service. Let's see. And we've been talking about this in the comments, like people's experience with third party. I know that there's some chats going on. Okay,
Yeah, we
great.
definitely love to hear about your experiences. If any of you have used, DoorDash, Uber, what did you love? What did you maybe not love so much?
All right, great. So yeah, just to move through some of these slides, just because it is coming up on 10 and we are slotted till 10:30, I think, but just to sort of move through I can move through some of these the Amazon stuff quicker as well. Again, we've been talking about this throughout, peak season surcharges. This is a link to an article on Supply Chain Dive that kind of goes into some of that. This is a quick summary from that article about what's going on with FedEx, Postal Service, UPS, and some of the others. And it's kind of like they're like brokers of these fees, and I think that they're kind of like they kind of feed off of each other and what the other one's doing for the seasons. Like, how are you handling peak charges? Well, this is what I'm going to do, and it's sort of like it feels like they control the market a bit. Which led this gentleman, who is the CEO of a last mile logistics company, to sound off on LinkedIn. He was quoted in that article that I linked. And he's annoyed that peak surcharges are falling disproportionately on small, medium-sized retail and e-commerce brands. And he says like there's less negotiating power that they have compared to the industry giants. And this is how your holiday season margin, your margins on sales are destroyed like during the holiday season. So, I think it's a valid point and something that, we're looking at closely. And to Steve's point before, it's just like we don't play games with the with our rates, whether it's peak holiday, whether it's even like I think DoorDash has like different charges for peak traffic and stuff like that. Time of day, I think the fees can go up. So I think it's all about using a service that is budgetable, predictable, and that you can easily know like how you're gonna do at the end of the holiday season. Want to talk a little bit about fulfillment by Amazon, and Steve, if you'd like to talk maybe a little bit about like the types of businesses maybe that would use that. Again, they're not really the types of businesses that Trellis serves, but it is an attractive option for some types of small businesses.
Yeah, for sure. So, businesses so the fulfillment by Amazon, it's a good option, but also, again, I think it goes back to there are a lot of rules that you need to play by for this type of situation, whether it be the fees that are associated with it, whether it be like certain ad and marketing spends that need to be met for these. So I think at the end of the day, it's a big cost to businesses to be on something like a fulfillment by Amazon. So it just, it brings a lot of different factors into it where at the end of the day, are they really trying to help you, or is it just, incurring a lot of different obstacles and fees to get your products out there? So, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. And, seeing how Amazon's like, they're right there with the traditional carriers, like implementing it a third straight year. There's going to be an increase. Oh, just have to move my screen. This kind of boggled my mind. Like they're calculating and charging fees when shipments leave fulfillment centers. So products shipped on or after October 15th have the higher charge, even if the orders were made before the active date. That kind of blew my mind. I was like, wow, that's that seems odd. Doesn't seem really fair,
Yeah, and I mean, that is the shopping season, as we know, but I think, before we started this conversation, Will was saying how like she's preparing for Thanksgiving and then doing her holiday shopping. So to start it as early as October 15th, when I'm sure a lot of the orders are even like Halloween related, um, is definitely interesting. And something I would like to add too is like with Amazon fulfillment, you're also then um boxed in, for lack of a better term, to Amazon's packaging, right? Like you can't really sell the creativity of your small business. Um, Bob was kind of asking how do orders for us come in, right? Like, do they come in? Are we selling to your consumers, or are consumers choosing delivery on your site? Right now, they're choosing it on your site, but we also give you full control on the packaging, and as does DoorDash and Uber Eats, where Amazon is saying, we're going to use the brown box, we're going to use the tape. They don't, from what I've heard from different merchants I've spoke with, you're not really allowed to take that sale and try to drive traffic to your own website, right? Like it's okay to have marketing material that is maybe saying, hey, like on your next purchase, but your next purchase through Amazon for my small business, you can have this percentage off. But they don't really want you to advertise selling on your own site. So yeah, lack of creativity in packaging, and just to consider that as well.
Yeah.
Weighing out your options.
Yeah. And this, again, this was a report from Marketplace Pulse, finding that Amazon can take a 50% cut of a seller's revenue. That's crazy. It's because they've increased, fulfillment fees and made spending on advertising unavoidable, which I think, Steve, you have some background with knowing about Amazon's advertising fees. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's to play almost.
Yeah, exactly. It's pay to play. The more dollars you put towards their advertising machine, you get better perks, whether it's like featuring your products, deals of the day, things like that. So it's a very, very big pay to play situation. And unfortunately they kind of paint you into a corner where here's what you're gonna have to do to be successful on their platform. So yeah, it's definitely unfortunate.
Yeah. And if you can't meet their inventory requirements, like that's another knock against you. Like they're strict about that. So yeah, there's a lot of boxes to tick if you're a small business, and it might not be practical for the type of business that you have. And then I think I had mentioned this briefly before. I'll just reiterate, at the end of the day, Amazon's not going to compete against itself. And they closed their same-day delivery service from some retailers' local stores. They were like, you know what? It's not working for us. It's cutting into our margins. We're not gonna offer this anymore. And that's their prerogative, but that's sort of what what happens, and sort of like, again, the experimental nature of a company that has billions and millions of dollars to run experiments and see what works, what drives their revenue, and what doesn't. So, small businesses, they need a champion. Gianna, can you please tell us more about Trellus?
Yes, absolutely. Sorry. So I kind of put it in the chat. So Bob, I'm going to use your question here about, where are customers coming from? How is Trellis, kind of filling that gap, right? So small businesses need a champion. We didn't exactly say it, but Amazon is trying to creep in right on that hyper local, and a huge, we talked about maybe a lot of negatives in this conversation, but a huge positive thing about your small business is your location, right? You are as close to the pulse of your consumer as one can be. And so this is where Trellis really comes in to nail that last mile logistics for you. Steve said it earlier, we want to work into the flow of your business, not against it. We don't want you to have to change what you're doing. We're just here to provide what we like to call a white glove same day delivery service. You can call us at any time. And I think what's also really nice is we have found a way to communicate with you and your customers. So when the delivery is made, you have proof of delivery. And yeah, we're just here to support you and the expectation that you want to give the best experience to your consumer. And we're here to maintain that. I always say that our team knows that we represent your business at the end of the day. I think a lot of times we find with DoorDash and things of that nature, while they do fill the need, Melissa said, it's a huge part of her holiday business, especially for Mother's Day and Valentine's Day, where there's a lot of last minute gifting. But then throughout the year, she's not really getting orders through DoorDash and other platforms. But a lot of times those things are just right thrown and on to the next. The drivers are moving at a really fast speed. They're not really taking the care that we pride ourselves on doing in your delivery.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And each of these icons kind of represents how we are like a multifaceted business. Like, we're dealing with we're helping you with navigate like processing fees on payments. This column looking building, I think that represents our partnerships with like institutions and the grant opportunity, which we'll get to. We're providing the insurance, like securing purchases of up to $10,000 in value, the live support. So these are just, ways that we're here for you.
And also, I think a big thing that we do is we connect people and businesses in the Trellis network, right? So, we kind of do that all day long. So I think that's really important to us as well, as making sure that as we grow, our businesses grow, everybody around us is growing. So
definitely. Just some key facts if you guys would like to review.
Yeah, so to date, we have successfully done 135,000 deliveries here on Long Island and, in Westchester, which we've been in for about a little over a year now as well, but really just focusing on our local communities. We have over 500 merchants currently between the two service areas and growing. And as a now key player to our business, we acquired Locally Bred, which you may or may not be familiar with, but it's a gift box company that was founded here on Long Island by two moms. We were doing their delivery and we loved what they were doing. They were ready to move on. So we saw a huge opportunity to kind of learn a little bit more about the market that we serve and be able to work with our merchants and a new community of merchants to really, send out their amazing product to hundreds of people quarterly. And some really exciting news. So Bob, your question was about how are we driving traffic to your businesses? Are we collecting the sale? Or are you promoting to your consumers that you're offering same day delivery and the sales coming through you? Currently, the sale is coming through our merchants and we are just facilitating the delivery. But in the coming weeks, we do have our Shop Local marketplace that's launching We are launching in Nassau County, where we do have a little bit of a bigger presence and a lot of our merchants are located, like Melissa, who is going to be part of our marketplace, which we're really excited for. So we are going to start facilitating some of those sales, putting our own marketing team, Colleen and Sam's efforts behind promoting your businesses and, growing your reach.
And there's one other thing to add on to here is the e-commerce integration. So to my point earlier about working into your flow and not interrupting that too much, we do have integrations with Shopify and Wix to provide delivery cost or same day delivery options at checkout, collecting that, collecting those fees at checkout, so it's already accounted for. So yeah, just another way to help help you streamline that process.
Yes.
Awesome. So here we're going to talk about our batching features. So, we figured out local fulfillment model that works for small businesses' needs. What we do is we encourage merchants to batch together multiple orders to save time and money. Essentially, what our batching feature is capable of is, say you have, 3 or 4 deliveries going to, the North Shore of Long Island. Our system has the capabilities to route those deliveries together. And what we do is we take the incremental distances between each stop, which drives down costs for you. It provides efficiencies in the routing. We would send, potentially one driver there to come and collect all of the deliveries and get them done, in one route. So, something that a lot of our merchants take advantage of. It's super, super convenient, and it helps, take the headache away from you having to route things. And, we let our technology do some of that. So.
Yes. Good feature indeed. I think one of the biggest fans of batching is John Zolnicki, who has Zolnicki Farms out in Riverhead. And he said, within 30 seconds, he could see, he just plugs in his customers' addresses. He sells a CSA box of agriculture, local produce. He also partners with other small artisans and vendors near him, and that's included in his box. And he just, he doesn't have to figure out, oh, what's the best route for these? He just plugs it into Trellus, and it's going to give him the most efficient route, and he loves the ease of that. So I just wanted to give that context of how it's used in real life. And of course, the pricing conversation.
Yeah, I could take this one as well. So yeah, we've also streamlined and simplified our pricing. Our main goal is to keep it affordable for small businesses. As you see here, $6.99 for the first 5 miles per delivery. Whether it's peak season or not, our pricing doesn't change. So which is a really nice thing to factor into, when you're marketing same day delivery to your customers. We do have an option where there's no monthly cost. Essentially, it's just that per delivery cost. And then we have what is our pro package, which factors in our batching, which we just talked about. So, more for businesses that have, dedicated routes and, need those, routed through our system and streamlined a little bit more efficiently. So
that's great. And I think Steve, you had brought this up the other day, the time it takes, say if I'm a small business owner and I wanted to place a delivery, and what's the onboarding process timing wise, how soon can I get up and going?
Yeah, for sure. So for us, we always try to make our processes as user friendly as possible. Really easy to kind of get up and running. We don't run on any type of contracts or commitments. So, it's a quick process to get up and running. I would imagine by the time, if you were to sign up, you'd have somebody reaching out pretty quickly after that to just walk you through the process, onboard you. So we know your time is valuable. We try to, make the process as quick and as efficient as possible.
Great. And as we mentioned, the marketplace is imminent. We're launching it by Small Business Weekend. And the businesses will have the option of integrating same-day delivery at their checkout. It's not like a requirement. You can do in-store pickup as well. And third-party shipping is in the pipeline. We're not launching with that, but we do realize it's important, and we want to be able to send like, hey, I love the chocolate from Lazar's or Emil's Candies. I want to send them to my relative out of state, to be able to do that. That's the Gold Belly model. I don't know if anybody is familiar with Gold Belly, but you could ship a cat sandwich, a Cat's Deli sandwich across the country. We want people to have that option to share, the things that they love from home, and there's a little bit of nostalgia in that as well.
Can I ask you guys a question, a logistics question? Like when you go on Lyft, you can see like where the vehicles are that or how close, things like that. Like, do you have vehicles in different locations? And then when a delivery comes up, they kind of schedule to go, or do you kind of accumulate, like you were talking about, accumulate several deliveries in kind of sequence, geographical sequence? Like, do you kind of I'm curious just the background, how it's working to go get the item from the store and deliver it, how that works in the background.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of a mix of both. So we are fully on demand. So we have like an ASAP option. So as a merchant, you can go on and request ASAP. So the closest driver to your area. And we do try to have drivers in certain areas, like to be transparent, a challenge for us was kind of the East End, right? And I think for many East End businesses, even getting from East Hampton to Southampton or whatever can be a challenge. So for us, it's really important to make sure that we have drivers in that area who are just set to serve that area. We're not trying to pull them out because we know the challenge that can be there. But we do offer the ASAP and also scheduled deliveries. So sometimes with the scheduled deliveries, if there's, 2 or 3 scheduled deliveries between 9 and 11 that are kind of in the same geographical area, we might just send one driver to take care of those that morning. But yeah, we try to kind of use a combination of the two. As a merchant, you won't see where the drivers are. We don't have that on, available, but you do get communication when the driver's been assigned, and you get updates as to how soon they're going to come to pick up your item. It's a great question, though. And Steve, please feel free to chime in if I missed anything there.
Yeah, and I think different from like a Lyft or an Uber situation, I guess those drivers don't have to come and pick up your items, right? We're guaranteeing that it's a driver will be there to pick it up. So that's something that's a little bit different. It can always be like a driver could reject it from like an Uber or a Lyft if they don't want to, go to wherever that location is. Our model, we have drivers, positioned throughout the island where we're going to send somebody and somebody will be there to pick up the delivery.
I mean, my impression is when you start your shop local, that's probably going to be a big, bump to get more stores to join, because like the thing I love about online is it's like I have a virtual inventory visibility on the world almost, and it's like, whether, if I go on Amazon and they're fulfilled at Amazon from their warehouse or they have a third-party seller, it's like I can see it all and just kind of click and make it happen. I was in Macy's was one of my customers years ago, and they basically turned all their stores into warehouses. So if somebody ordered online through Macy's and there was a red sweater in Cincinnati, they set up each store. So now you saw all the inventory in all the stores, so you didn't have to keep 5 sweaters in each store. You could have a few here. They could access for somebody shopping, going into the store, or delivering it from the store to the consumer through the online marketplace. So it's just amazing having, done all this way before online was even available, and seeing the convenience factor and power of purchasing and, just delivery turnaround. It still amazes me, just how the logistics is working.
Yeah, we've come a long way. Come a long way since circling, you know, my toys in a catalog and as a kid. Yeah.
Certainly. And I guess Macy's was kind of on something, right? Because that hyper local motion, I think we could have a whole conversation about what department stores might do, but I think people are looking for that balance, right? The big takeaway here is there's a balance of offering your consumer that convenience and also your specialty product. And to your point, Bob, you know, I agree. I hope that with our marketplace, people will um, really, you know, feel good about their purchasing and also be like, okay, I can see what my local business has, or, you know, exposure for these local businesses outside of just their main street customer. It's going to hopefully be really impactful.
For sure. That's a great point. It's great. So I think we have a few minutes remaining, and I want to make sure that we do talk about the grant opportunity because it applies to all Suffolk County small businesses. This is something that we worked on with the Long Island African American Chamber. It's really their grant, but we're the service partner that was named in the grant. And you know, this was through the Jump Smart Small Business Downtown program. That's where the funding came from. That was an ARPA program, the American Rescue Plan Act. So they're all kind of intertwined. But basically it was, you know, working partnership with Trellus. LIAC identified the need for minority-owned businesses to offer competitive last mile logistics services. So they were awarded $125,000. We've been giving out $2,500 delivery credits, like crediting that to your Trellis account. And but very importantly, it applies to everyone in Suffolk County. You know, the only request is that you have the address in Suffolk County and that you do join the Long Island African American Chamber. They welcome everybody from all walks of life. You don't necessarily have to be a minority owned business. They're opening it up to everybody and trying to drive their membership. You know, we've been in touch with them. They're very welcoming group. Steve and I presented there talking about this opportunity a couple weeks ago. And, you know, I love them for even taking that journey with us because they're just like, they see an opportunity and they seize it. You know, that they're a great chamber. So definitely just wanted to shout out that opportunity. If you're interested in it, you know, we're happy to answer any questions.
And the application process is quick and easy. So yeah.
Well,
Just wanted to
we
mention that.
love,
Great.
we
Colleen
love
just shouted.
grants. That's for sure.
Mhm.
Everybody loves grants, and that's a great way to kind of end this because I know we're at the end, and I know everybody is kind of wrapping it up. Is this your last slide, Sam?
Yes, yes, it
Okay,
is.
so I just wanted to mention a couple of things before everyone jumps off. We understand that this was phenomenal. Sam, Steve, Gianna, so much, thank you. Because it's something that's very relevant and I don't think we talk about it as much, but it's really a topic that our small business owners have to be aware of, that this is an opportunity to make them more competitive, especially during the holiday season, but Valentine's Day is right after that. I think I joked with all of you that, you know, a lot of men are typically people who purchase right before Christmas or right before the holidays or right before Valentine's Day or right before the birthday or the anniversary. So that same day delivery is really a great feature that brings in that target market as well. But I did want everyone on to know that we have a lot of workshops and they're all kind of at this time of year designed to help you get through the holiday season. So on November 21st, we're going to have free marketing tools to grow your business with the great Henry Bramwell, who, if you've ever been to any of our workshops, he's amazing. He is the owner of Visionary, which is a digital marketing agency, and he'll have a lot of great information. On December 5th, we have Are You Ready to Sell Online This Holiday Season? Well, we're in the holiday season, but Christine Curzio is going to talk about point of sale and credit card processing and all that back end stuff that you need to have really well developed. So all of this kind of goes together. We welcome all of you to register for those. They are in our newsletter and on our website. And Trellis sounds like a great small business as well. So we want to support you and help you grow. And we so appreciate you taking the time, and everybody on the call. Thank you so much. There will be a survey that comes up after this closes out. Please fill that out. That helps us guide towards future workshops. And by all means, if you're not a client of the Small Business Development Center, please think about becoming one. Again, free, doesn't cost anything, and it's a great way to brainstorm with somebody that's not your friends or family, somebody that really we care about what's in your best interest, help you do your due diligence. So we appreciate your time today. Anybody have
Thank you.
anything remaining to say?
I just want to again shout out the Small Business Development Center. I was just really excited that we had this opportunity to do this presentation with you guys. I think your reputation is well respected, and you guys provide excellent resources. I attended the 2-part e-commerce presentation before our presentation, and it was excellent information. So I hope everybody checks out future programming.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for attending, and we appreciate it. Go on with your day. And